Back in the years, Uganda's public transport system used to operate without restrictions. However, this changed in 2020 after the emergence of a strange pandemic COVID-19, which bent the entire globe. The pandemic came with measures whereby President Museveni, in his televised speech, put a ban on all public transport in an effort to contain the spread of the virus.
Cross-boundary district and intra-district movement of public transport and by private vehicles or border borders is hereby suspended for 42 days starting today. No movement of public transport, car or border or even private vehicles. Why 42 days? Because we know that this virus, once it doesn't spread, in 14 days, it gets out of your body, or if not 28 days, if not 42 days. So, the vehicles will only be allowed to move if they are carrying a patient, either from the village to the health center 3, or from health center 3 to the district, but on referral by the medical worker. So therefore, all passenger vehicles are frozen. Their movement is frozen.
However, on the 4th of June 2020, after nearly 3 months of halting lockdown, public transport was eventually accepted to work under strict guidelines whereby passenger service vans, including taxis, buses, and border borders respectively, were ordered to take only half of their capacity.
Border borders are now allowed to move up to 1,800 hours. Beyond 1,800 hours, no border border should be on the road. They are now allowed to carry one passenger at a time. To strictly maintain SOPs, wearing a mask is a mask for both the rider and the passenger. The border associations are directed to regulate themselves. Failure to comply, this directive would be reversed to the earlier position.
Just like in all other sectors, the pandemic has left public transport operators crying foul. Kagolo David, a taxi driver at Ntinda Kamocha stage, says they are drowning in debts and loans, which are as a result of the lockdown.
Atuyisiza bubi nakati atwese mu mabanja tuli mu malooni amabanka gatubanja kwegamba mu buli mbeera yonna tuli mu kunyigirizibwa kyokka ate era tetukomye ku ekyo mu mbeera eyo egy'okubanga tuli mu mabanja tulukaki ne gavumenti ate yeyongedde okutunyigiriza etutaddeko omukono ogw'ekyuma yasabye nga n'emirimu gye tukola tigikyali mirimu yeetaaga okutuggyako emirimu gyaffe egiwa ababbaasi.
Even though public transport operators are trying their best to adopting the new normal of adhering to the standard operating procedures, it has not been a bed of roses since these vehicles are transporting half a capacity, which has left many drivers with no passengers to carry.
Okusookera ddala COVID yatukose okuva ku bantu betwali tutikka kuva ku bantu 14 kudda ku bantu 8 kitegeezekana ne ssente zaayisa mu ebyo amafuta gayeeyongera era go tebaagasala n'abantu bennyini abajja mu kibuga baakendeera bwe tubanga twali tulina abantu abalijja e Kampala era ku bantu baayesala okutya obulwadde bwalimu nga bungi kitegeezekana abantu abali basobola okuva mu byalo mu Kampala baali tebasobola kitegeezekana nti enyingiza yaffe yasalika.
Abasaabaze baabasala omuwendo ate nga nabo tebalina mirimu tebakyabeerawo tetukyalina kye tukola ate nga gavumenti yo yennyini emisolo ku moroka ejaggwako twasigala tulina ogisasulira ng'ate tusasulira abantu abatakyatuula mu moroka tusasulira 14 tutwala 8 kati emyaka gigenda kutuka 2 nga tusasula ebyo naye nga tuleeta haafu y'ekyo naye nga mu ssente tebasazeeko amafuta gali waggulu n'abasaabaze tebalabika abayizi tebakyasoma kati ng'emakerefe tutambulira kati tetukyalina bizinesi.
Amidst all the sorry tales from other tax operators on how the pandemic has slowed their finances, Chibelu Hassani's story differs from that of his colleagues. He says that the second wave of the pandemic has not hit him so bad like the first one in 2020. Since this time round, he knew what to do and he had prepared in advance.
COVID edition yasooka yatuyisooli kubanga yajja nga yakusaagirira naye neesembyeyo tebadde mbi nnyo kubanga twali tukimanyi ate ekyatuyamba mu nnaku wana mu ebbizi baayogera te mu bakolaki mu baatukeera kati tubanga entwayisibwa bubi ate engeri yasooka twalyanga akawunga kaffe twaterekawo kibala basooka tuwoninga wiikisi ezebbiri nga bagambye bajja abaana mu masomero buli omu neeteekera akawunga n'ebijanjalo tetwakalya.
Aside all the other guidelines, one would wonder how bus operators who travel long distances deal with the issue of curfew. Robert Kayinga, one of the bus drivers, says that in order to avoid violating curfew time, they are set guidelines on how to beat time in their journeys.
Muda wa COVID nga basi esembayo okutambula ekoma saa mukaaga. Yanga saa mukaaga nga twaki tukoma okujiranga basi ekika saa mukaaga twada mu basi ndavuga kikutikka kubanga ogw'emisana nga bewala curfew hours twagiga abanga wa ssaawa emu. Ate nga twagala omuntu oyo atuuke eri by ssaawa nga 11, 12 naye asobola okugera gy'agenda nga curfew akoze atya tamakutte.
However, it is not the same story for the boda riders. Mosisi Kevin says that curfew has robbed them of their freedom to make more money in the night hours like it was before.
Nekati COVID atukomya sawa 10 sente ziba wansi so kituyisiza ddala ffe ng'ababoda
nageranga ku makya n'embyanza nengera nempumula nga mayingenda kukola ab'olweggulu nsabaza abasaabaza olweggulu naye ezituuka 12 mba nina kuddayo waka ate nga wakati w'essaawa 12 n'essaawa 3 ez'ekiro abantu we baateranga okuddayo naye kati siyawo bwezituuka 12 nga bakula.
On this note, the Kampala Metropolitan Deputy Police spokesperson Luko Wesigire, in an interview with a local television station, has revealed that police records a maximum of 100 cases of boda cyclists daily while violating the COVID-19 guidelines.
People on pikipikis have started moving beyond 6, the exact time they were told. And of course, we have put in measures whereby on a day we can even arrest more than 100 people and also impound many motorcycles as possible. We've taken many of them to court, but the problem is still.
This situation has not only affected public transport operators, but also passengers. Nakanwaji Winifred, a resident of Kamocha, says that the stipulated curfew hours, accompanied with the uncontrollable traffic jam on Kampala streets, has also left them with no option but to sleep at their places of work or fight in order to get a vehicle and head back home.
Before COVID-19, I used to leave work like at 9 in the night and get a taxi back home. But in this COVID-19 period, I have to leave town by 6:30 because police usually blows whistles at 7 p.m. for people to vacate the park. This has caused a lot of difficulty in my traveling. Since the time the whistle is blown, there are always no taxis. Yet people are always waiting for them. Plus curfew was put at 7. You get, so it makes the whole thing difficult. You have to always find a way of going back home by that time, which is not easy at all.
My name is Namata Queen. All I can say is that the pandemic has made transport difficult in a way that I spend an hour waiting for a taxi in the park to take me home after work. So the carriage capacity reduced, but the number of vehicles wasn't increased, meaning that the number of passengers is big, but the vehicles are few.
In efforts to live safely by practicing all the said COVID-19 guidelines while carrying out their day-to-day activities, public transport operators have called upon the government to respond to their requests and revise the said guidelines since COVID-19 vaccination is already in progress.
Sinyiza ogamba n'okutesebwa kwange tuyinza ogamba gavumenti oli akafa bwongeremu kuba nejjamu olumu agenda n'atukwata ate lundi tusula ffe mwenyimba mu kibuga tusula mu byalo eyo ali ne batukwata eyo byalo ate n'omunyonyola nti no jamu ankutte takitwala nga siyasi ekitega ogermaiza ngera bakulidde akasanja kooba oleese so kafyu bandibadde bamwongezaamu kakazanya ssaawa 3 nali n'okukubiriza bayirawo abantu ne tugende twegemese kuba ensi zirabye endala muyinza okubeera ne tugamba nti tulaba emipiira nga bisale bijjudde naye abantu abo beegemesa ekitega naffe abannayuganda naffe tugende twegemese olaba bebagemesa tugende bagge
bizibu byaffe okubimalawo ekisooka ino tugaziyiza we tukolera paaka baagiggala teddangamu kukola paaka enkadde yo tekolera ddala kati ffenna twekuŋŋaanya wano wamu.
In order to work together to see that the public transport sector stays in business amidst the challenges brought by the pandemic, OSGire has urged all road transport users to follow the guidelines in place and work hand in hand with the police to ensure that the standard operating procedures are followed.
See a border moving in your community past the time that is stipulated by the law, the current law of the Ministry of Health. You should inform the police, you should inform the community leadership so that we can always respond and have these people taken away. But people don't mind, even though you have a lot of officers on the ground, when the community is not working with you, is not in support of this operation, there will still be acts of crime. So what we call upon is the support from the public. The people on PTPKs have started moving beyond 6, the exact time they were told. And of course we have put in measures whereby on a day we can even arrest more than 100 people and also impound many motorcycles as possible.
In this pandemic, public transport operators have tried their best to adhere to the standard operating procedures in their day-to-day activities. And hopefully, come January 2022, the country will fully be open to normal operations as per President Museveni's speech on the 28th of October 2021. Nachenji Eve and Nanyonja Dafe.